how am I ensuring all of my team members are given the opportunities to dive into their giftings and take ownership of the process to bring our goals to fruition? Collective genius truly means you believe in every single team member and that you believe every team member has something really valuable to contribute to your overall efforts. We want to foster a culture that is built upon collaboration and innovation. We want to propel the collective genius in our teams so that we can deliver the results we're all aiming for. Every person on your team has giftings. As a leader, how are you creating opportunities for each of your team members to shine and share their giftings? You create the atmosphere where failure does not scare a person to death. They're going to step in to their talents. We've got to affirm the contributions people are bringing. We've got to let them know, I heard you, I see you, you're on a roll, keep it up. You're making a difference within our team. Our goal as leaders should be, how do we unlock this collective genius? And what could that mean for our team? Hey everybody, I am so excited that you have joined me today for the Leadership and Learning podcast. Have you ever been on a team or been in a situation where you thought, man, I just know I could make a difference, but I really don't feel empowered to do so? Or perhaps you're leading a team that has so many talented individuals, but you don't feel like you're reaching the full potential and the team is not reaching their full potential. You guys, I believe there's collective genius within every one of our teams. You heard that right, collective genius. Think about that. Collective genius comes from when we layer the talents of all the creativity, the talents, the strengths of the individuals on our teams. We layer those with each other's. And you know what? That requires some serious teamwork. Did you know that it takes over 250 people working 4 to 5 years to make a Pixar movie? I thought that was crazy. Linda Hill at Harvard University has done extensive research, and she tells us 250 people over 4 to 5 years work to make a Pixar movie. And here's what's crazy. Every single one of them is essential. Think about that. 250 people over 4 to 5 years. Our goal as leaders should be, how do we unlock this collective genius? And what could that mean for our team? Believing that every single one is essential. Today, we're going to discuss practical tips, strategies that can harness the unique talents of our teams, the teams within our organizations, our schools, the people that we work with daily. You guys, we want to foster a culture that is built upon collaboration and innovation. We want to propel the collective genius in our teams so that we can deliver the results we're all aiming for. So let's get started. You guys know every time it's a 3, 2, 1. We're going to narrow our focus. 3 points, 2 questions, 1 quote. And of course, we're going to leave with an action item. So let's start. First of all, before we get to our first point, I want to make sure we're on the same page because you know, for me, how we talk and what we say, the words matter. So collective genius, here's the definition that I'm working from. This concept refers to the idea that the group of individuals each can contribute their unique strengths, their perspectives, and collectively we can achieve far more as a team. Collective genius. For an educational setting, that means leveraging the diverse talents of your teachers, your staff, your administrators in order to solve problems, innovate, and drive student success. What's awesome about this mindset that really gets me fired up is collective genius truly means you believe in every single team member and that you believe that every team member has something really valuable to contribute to your overall efforts. Think about that. Coaches, we get it. I coached for years, and as a coach, we knew that every single member on our team had a specific skill set, but collectively, those skill sets made us an outstanding team. They were the collective skills that helped us win and made us a winning team. As administrators, we have to think upon the same way. How are these collective, unique talents making us a successful team? So let's dive into our 3 points. The 3 points of unlocking that collective genius. Point number 1, as a leader, what role do I play in creating an environment where these contributions are welcomed, actively encouraged, and absolutely celebrated. Think about that. Remember, my philosophy is, as a leader, what role do I play always has to be our first question. So how are we being a catalyst for unlocking the collective genius of your teams? Bottom line, talent's there. You've hired them. They're on your team. They're in a leadership role. So let's uncover it. Let it shine. Let them demonstrate the unique talents they have to give. Create opportunities. Every person on your team has giftings. As a leader, how are you creating opportunities for each of your team members to shine and share their giftings? Imagine leveraging the diverse talents of all the folks around you. Whether it's the talents of your teachers, what about the commitment of your staff members, and certainly all the knowledge that exists among your administrative team? Imagine if we daily consider that collective genius that exists in our group, because it does matter what your team is. It does matter the gifts they have. And the beauty of collective genius is that everybody is contributing, and what they contribute is valuable. Let's consider the ways that we can leverage this talent. Create these opportunities and expose the talent to foster these environments that encourage the talents to step forward. That's even more important because it takes courageous people to step into an environment. And the more as a leader that you create those opportunities, you create that safety, you create the atmosphere where failure does not scare a person to death, they're going to step in to their talents. Their creative genius is going to shine through. Ask yourself the question, do I know the talents of my team? And do they? What are their gifting? You guys, there are lots of tools out there that you can use as a catalyst to begin these conversations. There are personality skills assessments that offer opportunities for reflection and discussion. I've used several in my time, and I'm going to give you a few to consider, but I really found a DISC evaluation valuable. There's 16 personalities, and there's also Strength Finder. You guys, you can find all of these online. Take the assessment for yourself to kind of figure out how you fit in the discussion. And that will be the catalyst for further conversation with your team. Bottom line, that genius is just waiting to be unleashed. Point number one, man, you got to believe in the talent of your team, and you've got to work hard to find ways that they can demonstrate that. And that may take uncovering some of these skills, some of these gifts that the team members have. Point two, you guys, as a leader, how are you empowering your team so they are given the opportunity to share their genius within? It's essential that we foster this collaboration. Rarely is there a conversation in leadership where there's not the expectation that we must empower others, right? It's always mentioned. It's mentioned repeatedly as a core value of leadership. So why is it not happening? You guys, we're told over and over again, empower, empower, empower. But then we see that's maybe an Achilles to some of our leadership. So for empowering to be happening, we have to be explicitly intentional. We have to know what empowering looks like, feels like, sounds like within our organizations. And then we have to make it actionable. Empowering. Let's think about that. What does that look like? Well, that's delegating decision-making authority. Everyone gets leadership opportunities. How are you giving individuals the opportunity to make these decisions? What does it sound like? It sounds like an open door policy. You hear conversations where people are very comfortable with sharing their ideas. There's regular feedback. There's discourse about what's going on and how you're achieving the goals. And it feels like safe failures. Think about that. Safe failures. This is openly discussing where we're going wrong, fostering that opportunity. We're learning and we're not being successful is not a punishment. You guys, relationships are strengthened when we have opportunities for safe failures because we're team building and we're developing a trust within our organization. You guys, we must also make sure we're empowering others in their gifting. That way, the opportunity for success is so much more achievable. So let's talk about ways that you can intentionally empower those around you. You guys, first of all, invite others into leadership roles. Give team members important roles, meaningful tasks and roles within your team. Think about your team meetings. Why not establish a plan which each of the leaders are facilitating a meeting? Let them be empowered to lead the discussion, foster the communication, and bring their learnings to the table. Maybe it's staff meetings, faculty meetings. Again, you guys, principals, let your APs lead those meetings. Give those meetings to them to set the agendas, to set the target focus, to really bring them alive. You guys, this is going to validate your team. It's going to validate the cohesiveness of your team. And it's also going to let that collective genius shine. And that's absolutely our goals. Another way to empower your team is to acknowledge and reward. You guys, we've got to affirm the contributions people are bringing. We've got to let them know, I heard you, I see you, you're on a roll, keep it up. You're making a difference within our team, and celebrate each other. This keeps the environment open and again, continues to foster that team building and trust. You guys, you got to have an executable plan. What is the plan to acknowledge others, the good work of the team members? And it needs to happen instantly. Maybe it's something as simple as cards on the table for your team meetings, where they can just grab a card and write quickly the difference that they've made in that meeting that day, or celebrate the gifting that they could see shine. Provide opportunities for growth all the time. Another way to empower your team is to absolutely encourage continuous learning. You know, that's a big deal for me, continuous learning. How do we face into that? What are we reading? Who are we dialoguing with? Who is our network? Who are the 5 people that are our role models that stretch us? How are we staying connected? You guys, we've got to offer opportunities for our team members to be stretched. Give them those new roles, new responsibilities, but then ask them their goals. And you guys, when you ask their goals and they share, you need to step back and do everything you can possible to help them achieve those goals. Put them in situations so they get to activate the learnings and the excitements about the goals they're trying to achieve. That's when you are fostering leadership. That's when you are diving deep to get into that collective genius of your peers. You guys, when you're helping someone else achieve their goals, man, that's leadership in action. That is when we are fostering a collective genius for everybody. You know, we talk a lot about lifelong learning and education, but how are you modeling that? How are you being intentional? Your team meetings, you got an agenda, right? That's the first question you got to ask. But there should always be a line item on that team agenda. What is the new learning that's going to take place? Maybe it could be a quick overview of a book, sharing out what you're doing, sharing an article. Maybe it's a new instructional strategy you've picked up, a new technology strategy that could be implemented in the classroom. The bottom line is there should not be a meeting that exists in education where we do not have a line item that is about new learning. Now let's go back to what I said a minute ago, where you foster that growth for others and you put somebody else in charge. Let them bring the new learning. Now the diversity of our thoughts, the diversity of our thinking, the stretch in the conversation is going to enhance itself because others are bringing to the table what they're learning. And most of us always are learning about different things. Our sources are from different locations, and that will bring out the collective genius to a whole nother level. I don't want you to miss the fact that I said an agenda exists, okay? We may talk about this another time, but you guys, too many times we're so informal with our leadership meetings in schools. There should be an agenda. It should be an agenda that follows what your goals are, agenda that celebrates those, and then you need to make sure your team members are empowered to be a part of that agenda. That will foster that continuous growth, and that will allow them to support you and where you want to go. Point number 2, always empower the team members. Point 3 is all about encouraging innovation. Man, are you providing the tools and resources for your team that they need to activate on their roles productively? You guys, we want our teammates to be effective, we want them to be productive, and we want them to be successful. But as the head leader, it's our job to make sure we're delivering on the resources and the tools they need. And you've got to stop and think, what processes do we have in place on our team that are creating burdens for our team, that are eating up their bandwidth? Because if you have those, you've got to start eliminating them. You guys, in order for everybody to excel, for our collective genius to shine, we have to open up the bandwidth so it can work. So, do we have systems that are duplicating work? How can we eliminate, streamline those expectations? What can we do to eliminate the frustration that administrators have because they're inhibited by our systems? What systems are burdening them down? What expectations? That to-do list, review it. We've got to narrow it down. Be willing to ask your team. Be willing to ask the people around you, what's eating up your bandwidth? What's consuming your time? And is it worth it? And if it's not, could we do something differently? You guys, everything that we do must be to fulfill that purpose. We want students to thrive in our schools. We want teachers to be supported so they can encourage that learning. But in order to support, in order to create those environments, we need leaders who have the bandwidth to be right there in the center of it. Remember your team's giftings. Remember, we've evaluated, we've talked to them. How can you continue to support these efforts? Maybe it's sending them to a training. Maybe it's recommending a book. Think of the opportunities. Think of other individuals you could connect them with. How can you connect them with someone else that's doing the same job they're doing? Maybe in another school, in another district, opening up their personal learning network. Point 3, look for the innovation and ensure that you're providing the resources and tools for your team, because we want everybody to have the chance to be effective. You guys, our 2 questions for today. Number 1, how am I fostering the collective genius of my team? And what actions does my reflection inspire? Think about that. What way am I fostering creative genius? And what are the actions that are going to be required because of my reflection? And then question number 2 is, in what ways am I inhibiting collective genius of my team? Man, how am I inhibiting their gifts and talents to shine? Because we certainly want to do that. And most of us would never do it intentionally, but that's why you've got to be thoughtful about what's happening in your team. That's why we've got to be reflective as leaders constantly, because we never want to inhibit that collective genius. And then what actions are required based on that reflection? The quote that I want to share with you is, a person who figures out how to harness collective genius of his or her organization, they're going to blow away the competition. That's by Walter Wriston. You guys, collective genius, imagine, it's just like that coach I referred to at the very beginning that knows the skills and talents of their athletes. They know collectively, if everybody delivers on that, winning is going to happen. The same with you guys as leaders. When you tap into the collective genius of your team, success is sure to follow. And not only is success going to follow, it's a win, because everybody in your team is going to be so much more empowered. They're going to be validated as an individual. They are going to feel the true love of the team. And then, man, the sky's the limit for your team. You've built trust, you've empowered others, and they know you're supporting them in achieving their goals. Our reflection from today: how do we foster collective genius within our teams? Number 1, believe the talent's there. Get busy, believe in it, learn the talents of your teams. Number 2, be intentional about empowering your team. Create opportunities and be intentional about putting them in a place where their giftings will shine. And number 3, provide the resources and tools for your teams to be successful. And sometimes providing those resources and tools means to pull off the things that are not making a difference that are on their plate, creating some bandwidth. Remember, the vision of your business, your campus, your school, your district is not the property or responsibility of any one individual. It's the property, the responsibility of the culmination of that collective group. Everybody has ownership to the collective vision. Collective genius can transform a team, you guys. I've shown so many different ways you can do it, because if we harness those diverse, rich talents and gifts, it's going to drive outstanding, amazing, incredible student results. Your environment's going to be better. Your results of your students, the learning's going to be higher. You guys, learning should always equal action. You got to think about it. What's our stretch for today? Many of you are in the summer months of planning for the upcoming year. It is the perfect time to review your goals for the year. It's the great time for you to step back and say, how am I ensuring All of my team members are given the opportunities to dive into their giftings and take ownership of the process to bring our goals to fruition. Also, I want you to take time to review the meetings that you have in place on your campuses. Remember, we should meet for learnings, not for information you can put through an email, but for the learnings. Look at those agendas. Review the agendas. Do you have an agenda for your team meetings, your faculty meetings? And make sure there's always a line item for new learnings. You guys, take the time to determine how you're going to really empower your teams. How are you going to allow them to shine? I'm Lisa Spain, and you guys, I count my blessings every day because the opportunity I get to work with great leaders everywhere who have tapped into my collective genius as we work as a team, who've allowed me to tap into theirs. These opportunities give me a chance to share little nuggets with you of the things that I've learned in leadership. It is a true gift and an honor. I'm so passionate about what I do, and I love surrounding myself with these unique individuals and these leaders every day as we learn and grow together. Keep your feedback coming. If you have any ideas, suggestions, comments, you guys that are following us on the YouTube channel, put those in the comment section. I want to hear from you. You guys are all amazing. Let's work together constantly. Let's create those environments every single day where we are tapping in and unleashing the collective genius of our educators everywhere. Thanks so much for joining me on this podcast. It means everything to me. Thanks for being a part of Leadership and Learning. You guys have an incredible week.